All right. So the first question's super broad. Tell me about the history that you know about her. Like when she was built. Do you know by whom? And that sort of thing.
Okay. I really don't know that much of the history of it.
Yeah.
The woman that owned it prior to me, she really didn't tell me much about it. It was pretty quick to get it. I bought it in Sitka, so it was pretty quick to get it bought and get back out and get back down here and ready for the season. So, but I know it was built in Seattle. Not sure which yard. And it was built in 1926. It had the first owner of the boat had it for a good 30, 40 years. I do know that. And I do know that this boat has sunk before, so I got that out of the way, thank God. My buddy Steve Peavy, who lives in Meyers Chuck, he's one of the old timers. He owns the Patsy, and he's the one that told me that it had sunk before. So that's about the only history I have on it, other than just working on it I know what's happened and what's been repaired, and it's in pretty good shape for being almost 100 years old. Yeah. So I worked at the shipyard for 20 years, and there was days like today, or even better days when the sun comes out and stuff, and I'm stuck there having to work because I'm running a paint crew. And Southeast Alaska, when the weather's nice, you better be painting. Just like I own a boat now, I do it all the time, but it's cool because I'm doing it for myself. 20 years down there, it just got to be too much monotony, having no life. That was my life pretty much. And I mean, I enjoyed it to an extent. It just come over me one day. I had a couple weeks off just for particular reasons, and I was like, I really don't need that job. I'm doing fine right now. And I just decided within a week I was done. I was going to retire and go buy a fishing boat. So I did. Cashed in my 401k, my retirement funds, to buy the boat, the permit, and get everything up and going. There was a boat that I was interested in, and it was in Hoona. And I seen it on Craigslist, and it was a really nice looking boat. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm amped to get it. So I grabbed my older brother, who lives out in Meyers Chuck, and him and I boarded the ferry, and we went all the way to Juneau. Caught the little planes to go to Hoona, that whole ordeal, and got over there all excited, got down to the dock, and the thing, it was just a mess. It was too far gone. Beautiful boat. I wish the guy had kept it up. Back to square one, and I'd seen this boat advertised too, so I was like, well, we're already way the heck up here north, why not? I mean, we're heading south anyhow, so we caught a plane, went to Sitka, and ran out and took a look at this thing. It was cool because it was out of the water. She was working on it, so it was great. I could see it out of the water and everything. And talked to her, found out what the whole ordeal was, and went back to the hotel room. And my brother's like, after we looked at it, he's like, yeah, it's in awesome shape for being as old as it is, and pretty darn cheap, good price on it. So I decided then, yeah, I was going to buy it, and I called her up and told her, her name was Sarah. I called her up and told her that she needed to put it back in the water because I needed to run it around and try all the, the anchor winch, the hydraulic, all the stuff. I wanted to see it running. She was really hesitant to do it. She's like, well, I paid to have it pulled out here. I'd like to paint it and stuff all the time, just in case you don't buy it. And I was like, I'm going to tell you, I'm about 90% sure I'm buying it. And she's like, well, that's still 10%, And I really had some, bad deals with it. People backed out of deals and trying to get payments on it and all this stuff. And I was like, well, it's up to you. If you want to sell it, I can't hang out up here. I got to get a boat and get back home. So she put it back in the water, and we drove it around, tried the anchor winch and everything. And I'd already made my mind up before that. Even if something didn't work, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
So I told her, and I was like, I'm buying it. We were at the check-in, and she just stared at me for a good minute. It was really awkward. She's like, what? And I was like, yeah, just write your check right now. And she's like, the whole amount, everything? I was like, yeah, I'm good with it. And she's just, oh my God, I can't believe this. You have no idea how much I've went through. She was pretty ecstatic. So I paid her, got stuff, bought some electronics up there in Sitka. There's actually a cool little store up there. Sitka's a pretty cool place. It's almost like Ketchikan. Even with the tourists, there were tourists everywhere. It was like downtown Ketchikan. I was like, whoa, that's weird. Bought all the stuff, ran it down here, brought it into town here, started sanding it, took it back out to Meyers Chuck and finished my painting out there just because there's too tied up at this dock. When you're trying to work, there's so many people that I know that come by and they want to talk. It's so hard to get anything done. So I was like, I got to get out of here. I took it out to Meyers Chuck and redid the paint job, painted it the colors it is now, which is, I'm a 49ers fan, so that's why it's the colors that it is. I get a lot of compliments on the color too. Yeah. I mean, they're like, they've never seen a boat with that design, that paint. I got kids calling me the pirate ship and stuff. It's pretty cool. And been fishing, that's 2 years now. 2 bad years. Fishing really bad. Actually, it's a lot. That's 2 worst years in like 30 years or something, I heard. So hopefully it picks up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. You answered a ton of questions I had on here. So let's just be really basic and talk about what trolling is, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
For those who have never
done it.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
Trolling is running your gear through the water while the boat's moving. Pretty much is what it is. You have there's hand trolling and power trolling. Hand trolling, you crank all the lines in by hand, of course, and you only have 2 lines. Power trolling, you have hydraulic gerties that pull your lines in and out, and you got 4 lines. I think in some areas you're allowed to use 6, but not. I'll probably never be able to be honest. 4 lines is good enough. That's enough to keep me busy. But yeah, you troll along the shore or out. Yeah, well, you're trolling the water. You drag your 4 lines. Usually, you got 8 to 10 lures on each line. Drop down on little marks on your line, tells you where to hook your lure on, and you drag that through the water, trying to entice the salmon to bite whatever lure you got out there. And there's millions of different lures. You get caught up in that too, like I did. Way too many. You get excited by a bunch, and you're like, I'll never even use that one. So.
Yeah, the lures are definitely to attract fishermen even more than they are to attract
pretty much.
The fish.
Yep.
So once fish bites, what happens?
When a fish hits the line, it doesn't matter if it's a small fish. Usually, you hit the boat because it's out there on a pole and there's springs and stuff. Just that little bite, and he's fighting on that line's enough to shake the boat. You usually know, but there's little tattletale bells and a spring on the bow that you can see, and there's springs up top and bells out on the end of the pole. So you hear any bells dinging, usually you got a fish. More than likely you got a fish. There's other stuff out there that'll make it happen, but
yeah,
that's how you find out you got a fish. You pull them in, clonk them over the head with a gaff hook club. I use a bleeder tote. I'll bleed them and then throw them in a cooler on the back with ice in it and let them soak in there for about 30 minutes to an hour. Just let them bleed out. And then you take them and you dress them, clean them, cut their belly out, pull their inside, all that out, pull their gills out, scrape the backbone, get the blood out, and then throw them in the fish hole, ice them up, bring them down and sell them.
Perfect. Yeah, do you generally sell in Ketchikan, or do you sell to a tender? Or
it's 50-50. If I'm out on the grounds and I don't want to leave, I'll sell to the tender. But I've come to town. Last year, I fished south of town here at Ketchikan and down at the Percy's and on the 20 Fathom Bank. And when I'm over here, I'll run back to town here. But if I'm up like around Meyers Chuck or something, there's always a tender out there. I'll sell to them.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. Cool. So you talked about a little bit about the paint job makes her unique. What else about the Sultan is something special and something that I should focus on when taking pictures today?
Well, the main special thing is that it is almost a century old. I I don't even know anybody as old as this boat personally. It's all I could say that I've heard people say is this boat, the cabin on this thing is so big, which everybody thinks that it was added on or it's just not, shouldn't be on this boat. They're usually, you know, a little short cabin on there, and this thing's ginormous. But I've worked on it, and I've looked just to try to see if I could see where there was any addition, but no, it's all original on here, which is pretty cool. I like having a big cabin on here. It does catch the wind though, so it's like a big sail. When I get a gust on the side, it rolls way over. But being as old as it is, it does have its issues. There's rot all throughout. Every year I work on it. I put in a whole new roof on here last year because the roof was rotting out in spots. This year I've pulled out a couple planks and replaced them. And I know the woman, Sarah, who owned it before me, she put a brand new bow stem on here. She put bulwarks on, these steel bulwarks up top she put on. Just obviously I could see a bunch of stuff that she'd done to it too, and the previous owner before her. You can see like this, the brake timber here, it's starting to rot. And just as a precaution, somebody down in Fishel put a huge steel beam across there to work as a temporary fix. To fix that, it was quoted between $10,000 and $12,000 just to pull out that brake timber, and there's one on the stern too. So it's just really expensive to keep a wood boat up, especially this old.
Yeah.
But I'm doing what I can.
Yeah. And she has a beautiful stern. She's a
double ender.
Yep. Yeah. So a double ender means that
there's a bow on the stern and a bow up front. It's pointed on both ends.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I never did. It's just a theory that bow on the stern help you back up and stuff. Same as moving forward and following the sea. It would just, the waves would just come out easily on it, but it doesn't work that way. This thing's nasty to try to turn in reverse. That stern catches the water and just does not want to turn the way you want it to. And a following sea, it doesn't just glide over it. It actually catches on that stern and pushes it over to the side. So this thing, in a following sea, this boat is, you're constantly up there steering it, keeping it straight and making it a level ride. But other than that, bucking into it, it's awesome. This boat's so heavy, it just glides right through. The waves it just cuts through them. Wave splashes off to each side. Same with when you're in the trough. It just goes up with the waves instead of rolling. It just goes up with them and then comes down the backside and it's an awesome ride in the trough, which usually is not so. You're usually tipping back and forth, and that's not where you want to be in a storm and stuff. I mean, if it was a huge storm, I'd probably want to be in it either, but around here, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I've never fished a troller with a double end. Is there a difference to pulling the fish aboard when you're in a stern like that?
Yeah, it's actually, you got more room back there and open space instead of that stern that you're trying to reach over to get the fish if he comes over around to the port or starboard.
Yeah.
It's right there. You can reach it right over and it's way more comfortable. I worked on a boat and it was pretty high out of the water. Some of these boats, the stern comes way the heck out of the water and it's hard. I mean, you got a 48, 50-inch gaff hook that you're trying to get the fish with, and you're two-handing this gaff hook up to get the fish on board. This thing, it's just gapping, slinging right on board.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty nice back there.
Let's see. So, you said that your friend in Meyers Chuck, the owner of the Patsy.
Steve Peavy,
thank you. He had some stories about her that she had sunk. Have you heard any other? Has anybody else told you?
I've asked around. I mean, people have seen it, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we've seen it fishing out there." There's no historical events that I can say. I've been trying to get a hold of Sarah just to ask her if she, over the years, telling me stories and stuff, but I haven't been able to get a hold of her lately.
Okay. So these last 2 years you've been fishing her, and then you worked in the shipyard previously. Do you have any other history fishing before that?
Well, I started off actually. I was on the power troller, Ray Miller's boat, the Kiska. I fished with him one season power trolling off of Coronation and off the coast and stuff. So that's where I got my knowledge and for commercial fishing. And that same year in the fall, I went and did the halibut. It was still derby for halibut too, so it was an open, no limit, 2 days, 48-hour opener for the halibut. So that was cool. It was the last one too. That's the last year that they ever did. So it was cool to get part of that. And then I attended the next year. I was still in high school, so that was my junior year of high school. And then my senior year, I graduated, and I got a call to work on the Westward for Miles Cassidy. And I fished a season with him, tendering off the coast and stuff. That was pretty cool. The next year, actually the next several years, I tended divers up the coast here and at Pensai Cucumbers and Sterling Slider. He had I can't remember the name of his boat, but I tended him diving for 3 years. That was something different, being out on the coast in the middle of winter, urchin diving. Those were some scary times, but it was a good experience. I fished in Bristol Bay, went up there for a season. Probably the worst season there was. It was 98 or something. I was being told I was going to make $50,000. I think I came back with like 8. It was a bad season, but it was a good experience. I'm glad I did it. And I just off and on through the years, long line. That's like all the. Oh no, I shrimped. I forgot. I went shrimping with Mike Jewett. He had the Tracy J. Mm-hmm. Actually owns a boat right there now, right across from us. And I've been out with my Uncle Rory on his boat. He had the St. James, and he's got the Isis now. So I've been out with them off and on, just lollygagging, doing any fishery he was doing just to go along. Pretty fun.
Yeah. So that's great. That's a ton of experience. So then the question would be, how has the fishing industry changed in your lifetime?
Quite a bit.
Yeah,
I don't even know where to start. Just all the regulations they got in it now, which I understand. Back in the day, this place, it was overfished. There was the fish traps and stuff. They decimated the population of fish in this state, this country. So now there's all the regulation you got to deal with, but it's just in my 40 years of witnessing it, you see a lot less. I'll tell you that there's a lot less people doing it.
Yeah. So thank you. It's a big question.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite story about this boat or fishing that you'd like to pass on? Maybe the best day or the worst day, close call.
Well, it's hard to pinpoint one. Probably funnest time I had was my older brother. He's got his own land trawler, and working at the yard, it was like a vacation. I'd take off every year to go out or go out to Meyers Chuck and get away from it all. So I'd go fishing with him, and that's really where I got the idea to get my own boat, because he'd always tell me, "Yeah, you want to run the gear and stuff?" I was like, "No, it's your boat. You run gear, you pull your fish in. I'm not doing that." But it was just a relief. And I had fun every time I go out there. Plus, there's a few times you see Roy and Marion, they'd show up out there, so they'd be trolling along. My whole family's out there, so it's just a great experience. That's probably why I go out there a lot myself in the summer. There's really hardly any fish out there in the middle of the summer. They come at the end of the season out there, but I still end up out there. It's just, I'm drawn to the place.
Yeah.
growing up out there.
Yeah. Yeah, so you grew up in Meyers Chuck?
Yeah, actually, my sister, she's got a book about where we were raised.
Oh.
And
it's called Raised in Ruins.
Raised in Ruins. She wrote that book. It's about us being, I think I was 5 when we moved over there, the old cannery site in Union Bay.
Okay.
We were the only people there. My dad built a, it's all in there. There's a story about us just living in that old cannery ruins.
Oh, this is a beautiful picture. Is this you or your brother?
No, that's my older sisters.
Older sisters, okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was, I read it and I wasn't trying to be unbiased and everything, but I told my sister, I was like, you did a great job. This is an awesome book.
Yeah, it would have really sucked if you didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so that, yeah, we grew up, raised over in that cannery site. It was in Union Bay off of Leominster Point on the Cleveland Peninsula there. And we'd skip to school every day. We're talking 7 miles, and some days we didn't make it to school. One year, I failed 6th grade just because we missed so much school. And trying to get kids to do homework while you're out in the bush, my parents had a hell of a time. But, yeah, so we grew up over there for several years, and then we had to move out of there. So we moved closer to Meyers Chuck, the village that had the school, and we moved out to Leominster Point and lived there until I graduated and got out of there. But that was awesome. There was enough kids there to keep the school open, and we all had friends and buddies. It wasn't just we grew up over there in a cannery at first. It was just us, just our 5 siblings playing with each other, and had really no friends. Eventually somebody would show up, but it was nicer to get closer to civilization.
Yeah. All right. So then, you've answered this a little bit, but I'll ask you directly. Fishing isn't an easy lifestyle. What keeps you going out?
Just the excitement, the possibility of the unknown. Heck, I could be out there and catch hundreds of fish in a day. Who knows? Plus, it's just, there's something, once I leave the harbor and I get out there in the water, it's just totally different. There's a picture I took a selfie and somebody's like, you're glowing. Well, I'm looking out the window out there.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I'm staring out the window and I took a selfie and people are like, you're glowing. I was like, yeah, it's cool to be out on the water. Be honest, the past 2 years, it's not even about a paycheck. Because the fishing was so bad, it was like, I'm not even going to make ends meet. I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet this winter, but it's not like I'm going to stop it. Go pull in 2 or 3 fish. It's just, yeah, it's a blast being out there on the water, running your own boat. I mean, we're in Southeast Alaska. People pay a fortune to come up here and do what I get to do every day. And that was the main ticker, is growing up, living in Ketchikan here, working all the time at the yard and watching all the fishermen go out. I might have been fishing 100 times in 20 years that I worked at that yard, when I should have been, there's way more times I should have been out here fishing. I love fishing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Just, you never know. Just never know that day what's going to happen. Last year, trolling, the kings didn't come in. It's the first time I actually went further away from town. The first year, I tried to stick around Meyers Chuck and around Ketchikan here just because to get used to it again. Last year I ventured out a little further, but thinking I was going to go further to catch more fish, it didn't happen. It was pretty cool that first king opener the last couple of days, I ended up out in front of Meyers Chuck again. It was on my birthday and I pulled in like a 38-pound king salmon out there, and it was the biggest one that I know that was caught in that area. My brother's all jealous. What the heck? I was like, yeah, drove hundreds of miles away and end up right out in front of my home and catch the biggest fish. It's pretty cool. You never know. Just never know what's going to work. What lures do you want to throw out?
Yeah, awesome. So then the last question is, Is there anything you think I should have asked? Is there anything you would have added?
I just think it's a shame, some of these old boats. Like the Traveler too. That thing is sunk at the dock just because it got so old. There was no upkeep. The guy couldn't afford. Well, the guy passed away too, but it's just saddening. It takes a fortune to keep things together. There should be like grants or something to help you pay for it. I mean, this thing is almost 3 times my age, but it's an old boat. She needs to keep going. I'll keep her going as much as I can.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility having this piece of history.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It is. That's why I try. I mean, I try to make it look good. And I do have enough painting experience, 20 years, that there's some people that look at it and go, oh, that's awesome. That's cool. That's a cool paint job. How old is this boat? And I was like, almost 100 years old. And I said, oh, wow. I mean, my deck out there, I have people look at it all the time just because it was actually an experiment myself. I never used the paint on wood. It's always steel vessels that I painted. But I tried it, and heck, that deck is going on 2 years now, and it looks almost like it was just painted yesterday. So I'll try to preserve it as much as I can. Working on it today.
Awesome.